So, as we're all excited to get back to climbing, I just wanted to cover some ideas that might help you ease your way back into climbing so you don't overdo it. And then also in general, a lot of this advice would just be good in general, I think, to follow regardless of you taking time off. So the first thing we're going to talk about though, since a lot of us will have taken a lot of time off, is 3 variables that make a workout harder. You have volume, intensity, and frequency. And volume would just be the number of climbs in a session. So if I did 10 5-9s one session and then 11 5-9s the next session, I just increased the volume a little bit. Intensity is the difficulty of the climb. So if I climbed a 5-9 one session and then climbed a 5-10A the next session, I just increased the intensity a little bit. And the last thing is frequency, which can just be the number of days climbing per week, which I would recommend getting back into it no more than 3 days per week. And it might be tempting to do those 3 days right in a row, but it actually would be way better to always space out your climbing with a rest day. So 3 days a week would be the maximum I would recommend. And so when you're trying to avoid getting back into it too quick and avoid injury, you want to increase only one of these 3 things at a time. So if I had a set volume, intensity, and frequency one climbing session, and then the next climbing session I increase all 3 of those, over time doing that is a recipe for overtraining. So you want to just only increase one of those things each session. And then another thing when thinking about volume, intensity, and frequency is a consistent warm-up is important for tracking. If one day your warm-up is 10 5-9s and another day your warm-up is just 1 5-11, that's really sporadic and it's going to be hard to control for volume, intensity, and frequency if your warm-up's different every time. So the 3 workouts I would recommend for increasing these characteristics would be the 3 I'm going to talk about right now. Actually, I want to rewind a little bit and mention one more thing with volume. Is kind of another subcategory, if you will. You could think of it as density, and that would be doing the same amount of volume in a less period of time. And we're not going to talk about changing that at all, but that is another thing you can control for is the density of a session. And essentially increasing your density is just a way to improve your strength endurance. So we're not going to touch on that really today, but that is another kind of thing that you can tweak within this. So moving on to the workouts. The first workout is what I call a pyramid builder. So you are going to be working on your intensity on this one. That's the variable that's going to be going up. So I here have a pyramid for a rope climber and a pyramid for a boulderer. And the way you would approach this, especially if you're taking a lot of time off, is if you used to be your hardest climb you could send is a 5-11 minus, this is what your pyramid would look like to build to that. So when you come back in the climb now, see about sending 4 5-9s, or try to climb 4 different 5-9s, and then only then do you try to climb a 10 minus, only after you climb 4 different 5-9s clean. And then you work on 10 minus. So maybe your first day of climbing back, you knock out all 4 of the 5-9s and just 1 10. You might have tried some other 10s, but you didn't get them, and then your climbing session's up. The next day you come back in, again, you're gonna have a complete warm-up that should be consistent. You can just start right away on getting this other 5-10, and then going for this 5-10, and then maybe you spend a couple attempts trying to get a 10 plus, but you don't actually get it. Or maybe you try 5 different 10 pluses and you're unsuccessful on all of those, but you tried them, and that's fine. And then the next time you do this workout number 1, the pyramid build, again, you can start right back in on that 10 plus after your full warm up and then knock it out. And so you're just eventually building up this pyramid all the way till you've gotten all of your pyramid filled in. And then what you could do is go back to the bottom again, but now your new bottom might be 10 minus, and so you try to knock out another 4 10 minuses. And so that's a way to structure your pyramid building. And the bouldering would work the same exact way, but with V grades. So that's a great one for slowly building your intensity. And then another workout you could do is a volume build. So what you would do with building your volume is you take the number, a grade of sub-pyramid climbs in a session. So if this is your pyramid, 5-8 would be your sub-pyramid grade because it's below this. And you would try to climb as many 5-8s as you can in that session. So let's say it's 10. So you're like, climb 5-8, 5-8, 5-8, 5-8, until you've done 10 of them, and then that concludes your session. The next time you do workout number 2, you would try to do 11 5-8s. And you would want them all to be different, and maybe there's not enough different 5-8s. You could then add in some 5-7s or 5-6s if you wanted to round them out. Some people might find a certain style of a grade might feel the same as a different style of 5-8. So maybe an overhanging 5-7 might feel actually harder to you than a slabby 5-8. So it's definitely okay to throw in a 5-7 too, because it's still sub-pyramid. And you're just slowly trying to increase the amount of climbs you do, so the volume that you do in each session. Again, bouldering, you do it the same way with, in this case, if this is your pyramid, V0 would be sub-pyramid climbs, and you could throw in VBs as well. The third workout is you could do a sum build, or just have some people just really need a fun day of climbing with no structure, and I completely get it. So this third day could just be that day as well. And what both of these will end up kind of working on is the is the intensity as well. Because a lot of people, when they do a fun day, they're always trying to do harder stuff that they've never done before, and that kind of falls under intensity. So I don't need to explain how to have a fun day. I'm sure you all know how to do that. But the sum build would be you give point values to every grade. So what I recommend for rope climbers is a 5-5 is only half a point, 5-6 is 1 point, 5-7 is 2, 5-8 is 3, 5-9 is 4, 10 minus is 5, 10 plus is 6, so on and so forth. And you just, after, again, a proper warm-up, you start, only after the warm-up do you start, if you have a consistent warm-up, only after the warm-up do you start tracking all of your climbs you do and their point values, and you just add them up. So maybe your total point values is 20 for one day. That's great. And then the next time you do workout number 3, you maybe try to increase it to 21 or 25, whatever seems appropriate. And so you're just building up that sum. For bouldering, I give you a half a point for a VB and a half a point for a V0. So both of those only get half a point. And then V1, 1, V2, 2, so on and so forth. So that's another great workout. So if you were to do, what I recommend is if you were to do these workouts, I would recommend cycling through them every time you climb. So always, never doing like workout 1 3 times in a row, or 2 or 3 times in a row. You just always do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and whatever your frequency of climbing depicts how often you might be doing one of these workouts. So here's 3 different examples below. So in this example, you're climbing every other day, no matter what. So you do 1 that day, 2 on Wednesday, workout 3 on Friday, and then workout 1 on Sunday, 2, 3, 1, and you just keep on cycling through that. Some people might like to just have 2 days of rest between every climbing day, and that's what that would look like. 3, 1, 2, and then the Tuesday would be the next time you do workout 3, the following Tuesday. Or a lot of people just climb Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then have a 2-day break on Saturday, Sunday, or anywhere. And obviously you could shift all of these to start on whatever day of the week you want, but that's what that would look like, and you just cycle through. And so those are my recommendations of how to get back into climbing. And even if you are back into climbing, this is a great way to try to consistently improve your climbing. It's a very simple way, and if you've never structured your climbing before, just doing this could be very helpful. After a while, eventually doing this, you might hit a plateau and then you might need to change it up, but this is a great starting plan for anyone to increase your climbing. So I'm so happy to have everyone back climbing, excited to see everyone. Just make sure you listen to your body and don't overdo it, because being injured would really stink after all this time off, and then coming back and just injuring yourself and having to take more time off would be really unfun. So please listen to your body and take it slow. If in doubt, take an extra rest day, or do half the amount of work you might want to do in a day climbing wise. All right, thanks, have fun.